All right, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans, sponsored by Lion Bolt Media. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Now, our very special guest and feature titan for episode 257, all the way from Virginia Beach, Virginia, none other than Brittany Smitherman. Brittany, it's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. It's always fun to come out and get to talk to people and tell your story. So I'm definitely putting myself out there more this year than I've been comfortable doing in the past.
Hey, I love it, Brittany. I can't thank you enough for taking the time. And again, just sharing your story, who you are and what got you into the biz and your progression all the way through and through, and just so many takeaways for the audience. So again, we're just going to have a great conversation, you and I. I want to dive into the series of questions, really getting everything rocking and rolling. So let's just start out with kind of your background, your origin story. What got you into the biz? You know, who you are, where you're from, and then kind of just that progression up until today. What's that look like, Brittany?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in a small town in Texas, in East Texas, and we ended up in Virginia Beach because my husband was active duty at the time.
Love
And
it.
Virginia is like a really big military base. So I think there's like 5 bases within like a 20-mile radius. So I was attending Liberty University,
Okay.
and I was in my last year of college, and a friend of mine was like, "Hey, you should get your license." I was really working at home doing accounting and stuff for a flipper at Capitol Hill. So
Wow.
they would do, big, huge, $100,000 kitchens and different stuff. So I knew a little bit about the industry, but mainly it was from the financial side, which later obviously would help me out going into the business aspect. But it kind of took off really quick for me.
Mhm.
I sold 5 houses my first month in the business,
Wow.
and then my first year was 55, and it kind of just, pivoted from there and became the big thing that it is today, kind of.
I love that you're kind of breaking and basing everything down with the story there, Brittany. And again, everyone who comes into this path in life and real estate has such a different background. I haven't met that person yet that said, someday I'm going to be a real estate agent at a very, very young age. It's not that the dream job as a child that you think of, and everyone falls into it in some way, form, or fashion. Which I think is absolutely fascinating. There's so many different walks of life. I do want to back up on your story a little bit too, and I have to thank your family and your husband for the service that he provides to our country. I mean, to me, it's massive. Our military. We wouldn't be who we are today without them. And what does that play a part into your career and kind of the positioning that you have in the market too? I'd love to talk a little bit about that, if that's okay.
So early on, right when I first started, I ended up starting kind of a PCS network called Your Military PCS Pro. And
Love it.
I began gaining friendships at, top military installations from top producers across the country. And we designed a Facebook group and we started passing deals with each other. And it's funny now because one of them is my business partner down in Georgia.
Mhm.
And we didn't meet, we'd been good friends for 3-4 years. And we just met when we decided to go into business together
Mm.
like 6 months ago in
Unreal.
person. So
Mm.
it's kind of, 95% of our agents are military spouses or veterans.
Okay.
And there's, we're at about 60 now. So we're really involved in that. And the brokerages that I chose to open, other than my home state in Texas, they're all naval installations. So we're very heavy into the military community.
Wow. Okay, Brittany. So I'm glad you opened that door, because to me, I think it's really important for everybody to know that about your background. So you're in multiple states, and
Mhm.
let's talk about something a little bit more recent, which happened over the past several months. Big congratulations, or
Thank
in order
you.
for that too. But let's talk about kind of where you're at today and what your thought process was behind that.
Yeah. So I always said that I would never be a brokerage owner. I didn't want anything to do with it. But I think you kind of get to a place where you're evolving in your career. And I had some agents that were ready to take their career to that next step. And So I kind of had to make the choice, are you gonna go ahead and let them, like everybody says, like let people fly and spread their wings and,
Mhm.
grow their career, or are you gonna play a pivotal part of that? And are you gonna make that choice to do it? So I had an opportunity to buy into some franchises and, it was a good fit. It worked out well. I had already knew Ryan, who's the owner of First Class. I actually started my career at his wife's brokerage. So,
Wow.
all those years ago. So it kind of was a full circle thing.
Love it.
But my reason for opening multiple states was I wasn't willing to leave any of my agents behind.
Mm.
So if we couldn't open in everywhere where we had expanded to as a mega team, then it just wasn't going to work. So we found a way to make it work, and then it just kept growing.
Ugh, I love that. And again, that shows massive amounts of heart and character and integrity on your part to really show love and support for everybody that's around you. That's massive. And what about First Class really stood out to you? I mean, just to kind of get, kind of behind the curtain thought process there. Because as real estate professionals, there are different opportunities that come up. Not every opportunity is right at the time or for that individual, but you've obviously done your homework, due diligence to make that decision, being a true pro. So what was it about First Class that made you say, yep, that's it?
Yeah. So obviously you go through the motions of like, do I open on my own? Am I going to be an independent brokerage owner? I knew for me, I'm very, very big in the financial side of in my business. I'm very
Yeah.
involved. I know where every penny goes, what's coming in and out. And so I run profits and losses really well. And I had to make the call. Was it going to cost me a little bit to buy a franchise? It was,
Mhm.
but I was also opening on a stage where I was a 4-year agent opening 6 states at one time. I needed a little bit more backing behind me to
Yeah.
feel comfortable and not freak out. And it made the most sense financially. I obviously looked into some other ones. I'm not going to name names, but
Fair enough. Fair enough.
it's super expensive. It's not really doable. And I had people, again, I was back to if this is going to be able to work and my agents are going to want to start teams and do all of these things, I wasn't leaving, not one person behind. So
Wow.
they gave me the avenue to be able to bring over everybody in all the states we needed to and make it, effective and profitable to be able to make that choice.
I, Brittany, you are truly, when I say one of a kind, when it comes to real estate professionals and talking about P&Ls, that usually doesn't go hand in hand, right? Looking at it from profit and loss and knowing the numbers, and no disrespect to anybody out there who's tuning in right now, but the true professionals run it like a business. And I love the fact that you're so focused on that to really maximize what's going on into the given market and the clients that you serve and the team that you have built and continue to build, which is huge to me. So what's the next step or phase if we could look out into the future, Brittany? What does it take you and the team and First Class? Like what does it look like?
Everybody always asks me that. It's funny because my agents will tell you even a year ago, I was like, I'm not buying a brokerage. And so
Sure.
I think it's like, it's always been really cool to go back and look 3 years ago. I think I started the team with 5 or 6 people.
Wow.
And, now we're 6 brokerages and we're 60 currently. I know I always set goals with First Class as a franchise. I want to be, now I've stepped away from the leaderboards as an agent. I still produce. I just didn't feel like it was right to compete with
Sure.
my agents. Especially if you're in the level of production that I was at before becoming an owner.
Mhm.
There's a big gap between the producers at your brokerage and yourself. So to put yourself on that stage and separate you in that way from them kind of maybe makes them feel inferior.
Sure.
So it was a choice for me to say, hey, I'm still going to produce and I'm still going to help my clients. I'm just going to step back and do it from a different scale. I'm also not the owner that brokers. I've hired brokers. For me, it was kind of like I love the coaching.
Mhm.
So to be able to step in and my whole day be on the ground floor and out with the agents and, seeing what they need and being available, I felt I was a better leader in that way.
Wow.
And I always thought if you had imagine somebody like Virgin Airlines or something, a big, huge corporate company. Everybody knows who Richard Branson is.
Right.
And his leadership style is really cool in the thing he says. So imagine if those people that were at the corporate top were in the day-to-day with their employees, like how
Yeah.
big of an impact and different would their organizations run.
Mm.
So I made a choice to stay in the ground floor and be involved every day.
I love that aspect and the way you designed it. And when you're looking at a comparison to Sir Richard Branson, what an awesome picture that you just painted again for everybody in your organization and on your team to really be able to soak that in and learn. And that mentorship, that guidance, the training, it really is not common. Unfortunately, in the real estate world, you can find outliers or certain pockets where they're really pour in. They really, really care and they go through that. But a lot of times there's misguided nature and people feel alone, how to grow, how to scale, what to do, just the fundamentals of having those conversations and not even just sales skills in general, but just real estate background. So that's huge. I love the fact that you do that, Brittany. And with all of your thought process and obviously growth as dominating markets, building teams, organizations, you have a ton of information to share. So I always bring the second question in with a grain of salt, is to say there's lots of different avenues you could go down to share information on. But the second question everybody loves because they want to learn from the Titans and what you've experienced and explored and success and failure through your career. So if you could look back at your career thus far and pick or choose one or two things that you added or implemented that really moved the needle, that shifted in a positive, what does that look like for you, Brittany? What advice would you give to the audience today?
I think my biggest two shifts would be as a leader. I felt a really huge tension pull in the beginning of starting a team. So for me, it was like having those boundaries of, not being pulled each way to please every single agent. You've got people that you want to stay with you. I think, I talked about it on a recent podcast I did, that we have almost minimal turnover. I think we're like 5% when the industry is 50. Of my 60 agents, maybe 5 have left and a few have come back.
Oof.
So I think it's creating that relationship where they respect you, but you're also so impactful in a way that they don't want to go anywhere else. They know how good they have it. They know that they can depend on you and lean on you, but they also know if it's them that's not putting in the work to meet you halfway, so that like, hey, it's not her, because so many agents will brokerage hop because they think it's the brokerage.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you have the same result at every single brokerage, you've got to look back, it's you. I would say the second piece would be when I expanded into my first market out of Virginia Beach into Texas, and I was selling 2 states. I was really scared. Like, I didn't take the initial leap to just dominate and come into Texas and blow it out of the water, because I was just nervous. I'm going to a new market. What if everything changes? Just do the same thing you did at the last place. I moved to Virginia Beach 6 months before I started real estate. I'm from a tiny town in East Texas.
Wow.
So I didn't know anybody. And I have so many agents that contact me now that are like, how do I do it? How do I go into a market when I'm new? You do the same things you did in your last market. So now we just duplicated it. We went into Florida and did it. And then, we went into Georgia and North Carolina. So that fear diminishes when you just believe in your systems and you do them consistently.
So much great stuff right to there. I want to talk about the first point is really taking accountability from both sides as an individual. I really seldom blame the brokerage. You want to look internally. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think that this adage or exercise is always healthy, maybe upsetting to some people, but when you point a finger, just remember that 3 are pointing back at you. And, it's important to look inside and to see, did we do what we could? Is there everything? Did we ask the right questions? There is times where you may not feel that support. That's okay. But, there's 2 sides to every story and there's duality. So you really need to evaluate that. The last thing to do is to hop, to have inconsistencies. The grass is not greener on the other side. It's green where you water it, however you want to paint that picture. So I love that messaging. But the fact that you show love and show support and really give that to your team and your organization is massive. And I'm telling you, that is not normal. That's a rarity. The second point, when you're basing everything off of, I think that just being yourself is crucially important, and people get shaken up. I understand that. And I know you do too, because you lived it. You walk the talk. We were talking in the green room. You eat your own cooking as a chef, right? You practice what you preach. And that's evident that way, Brittany. But I think it's important for everybody out there to really take what you said to heart. If you are looking in multiple areas or markets, base it off of you had success in one place. And what was it? Just the fundamentals of you being that person. It's a relationship business. So how did you build that business? How did you build those relationships? What did it look like? And just know that similar expectations are going to be in a new place. But everybody gets wrapped up in their emotions in their head and like, oh, I'm never going to get back there. It's nonsense. And I've had so many conversations over the years, exactly what you discussed. People just number one, dominating their market, their state, their region, and literally moving across country or out of country. Nerves, everything. But I'm telling you, the fundamentals don't lie. And really putting in the work shows the results. I love that because you do it and your team does it. That's really great advice.
I think it's just being too that, so many people talk about the culture you create within a business and in real estate. And I've obviously been at other brokerages and see it's different. And I think, I always tell everybody like real estate wasn't like the purpose for me. It was just a vehicle. So when you do that really well, no matter what stage, like I could go into a corporate company and I would still be the same style of leader and maybe still have the same success,
Sure.
So leaders also have to look at it too. Like so many people I see in real estate, especially, it becomes all about the number. Like how many are you selling, or how many are you cold calling? It's, all numbers driven. When it's like really you expect them to build these relationships out in the public, but what are you building inside the office? So we have that same culture. My agents can call me anytime. They text me all the time. I'm not the broker that's like, hey, call the admin. Now we do have an admin now that does stuff.
Sure.
But if they've got like real issues, they're like, hey, can I talk to you? Whether it be life or real estate, I think you create that culture that creates a success. It's not the actual job you're doing.
Oof. Huge information into that, Brittany. And again, I love the fact that you're just, sharing advice and takeaways that you experience and that you can really just reflect on. And I think that that's the most important thing to do. And, I know we're just scratching the surface with the thought process and the breakdowns. I always want to leave everybody wanting a little bit more. And I'll tell you, Brittany, I really always want to ask, what's the best way if something stuck out to somebody who is watching or listening to this with us live or after the fact, what's the best way for anyone to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so we're really big on social media. My Instagram is at Your Military PCS Pro. Same on Facebook. Let's Elevate Real Estate. That's my brokerages. You could find us also on Instagram or Facebook. And then we have YouTube channels. So the same for both handles. We're on YouTube and all of the platforms. So.
Oh, so good. And again, I'd encourage everybody who's watching or listening to follow Brittany and really just learn from one of the best and brightest minds. There's so much to unpack here, but Brittany, I can't thank you enough for taking the time. This was a blast just chatting with you and really getting to know you, but also learning throughout your business and your career up to today. So I can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
This is great. And I have to give you an official dubbing of a real estate titan. That is a badge of honor you can wear forever. There's no trophies, there's no plaques, as I always say, but you can wear it in your heart and know that it is yours forever. So Brittany, you're official. So
thank you so much. It was super exciting to be here.
Absolutely. And thank you everybody, as always, for your time and attention, love and support. If you like here, doing the Real Estate Titans, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. You know what to do at this point. But I do need to give our sponsor a quick shout out, Lion Bolt Media. If you are in the business and you are looking to grow and scale on the digital platforms, visit lionboltmedia.com for more information. We're live here every Tuesday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. Catch everybody on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care. Thanks, Brittany.
Bye.